And we're live. Hey everyone. About ready to start episode number 8. Just waiting on Megan. I'm sure you're more interested in hearing what Megan has to say than what I'm talking about. So we'll give her a few minutes to join. This has been a lot of fun, really good conversations with the entrepreneurs who are generous enough for their time to jump in. Oh, there's Megan. Megan, what's up? Hey, you're coming in hot, Mike.
Sup? How's it going?
Good, man. Live.
Good,
This is
awesome.
number 8. I'm doing 22 of these things today, and then like 8 more tomorrow.
That's insane and awesome. What a different take on it.
What? So yeah, it's nuts. I had this idea on Tuesday. I'm like, I'm gonna do a season of podcasts because I'm so shitty at making podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a whole season in a weekend. And I'm like, I'm gonna do 12 because that's a pretty good season size. And then I got people signing up. I'm like, you know what? That's not enough. I'm gonna do 30 in 30 hours because that's just stupid.
It is, but it's also gonna be so unique. Who else is doing this?
Nobody.
And for me, doing a podcast and not doing it that way, it's grueling to do. You're skipping the whole like scheduling, when are you available? I mean, that's a huge win to not be dealing with that. So I'm excited. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. What are you up to? What are you working on? What has you super excited these days?
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a lot of irons in the fire, which is how I like it, how I prefer it. So between Tippi Toes, my company I own with my sister, we have franchises all around the country. We teach dance to kids. So this year has been interesting, and we've had major pivot, obviously, as you can imagine, with COVID. So dealing with that, like when people are talking about cleaning out their closets during COVID, I'm like, I am not cleaning out my closets during COVID. It's been nuts. It's been nuts. And meanwhile, I have launched a podcast on BYLR radio. So, when I talk to the moms of amazing CEOs and athletes and entertainers, and that's really like a passion project, something. I'm a mom. And so I wanted to talk to moms who did it really well. And so, but it all just like, as we all know, like it all just happened at once, we had to pivot the business, Tippi Toes, which is my day job, and then the podcast, everything happened with Jesse Itzler's radio station, BYLR radio. He asked to have my show on. And so then that was like a whole different level of things. So there's a lot going on. And it's a reminder of like, this is what I want, and it's crazy, but when you put yourself out there and you actually, give yourself a chance, it's amazing what happened. Like, it's really a matter of just getting yourself in the mix. And I wasn't in the mix for a long time because I had little kids and I didn't have any more bandwidth to do anything else other than Tippi Toes. I was raising kids. I was feeding them and nursing them and nap schedules. And I had nothing else to give. And so anyway, so it's been an interesting year because, I started off with, ready to try new things. And then everything came together and then it was like, oh my God. And then the world shut down. And so it's been nuts. It's been nuts, but it's what I want, to be honest. Like when I stress out and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much. I think this is actually what I want. I love this. I love everything that I do. I think that's the key, is you have to love it. If you don't love it, then the hours on the laptop at 11 o'clock at night suck. But if you like it, today I'm going to record a podcast that I do a recap of like 5 episodes at a time. And it's going to take me time today, but I'm like, I can't wait. Like I'm super pumped about it, And so I think that always comes back to that, is doing things that you love. Cause it takes a grind. It's a grind for sure. No matter what you're doing.
What's the first thing that made you feel that way? Like in your entrepreneurial journey, what's the first thing you're like, holy shit, I want to do this kind of stuff? What was that thing for you?
It was when people would make comments like, oh, you have to go to work. And I would be like, yeah, like I can't. But in my head, I couldn't compute. Like the first time I heard that, I didn't recognize it. I wasn't like, I didn't get it. And over time, like, my mom will say like, oh gosh, honey, you work so hard. And I'm like, but I don't feel bad about for it, And so it was actually other people's view of work and seeing how other people see work as negative a lot of times. And I was like, I didn't understand that because I've done Tippi Toes since I was in college. So this is all I've ever done. And and I mean, I did an internship because I'm a registered dietitian. So I had that little time. Now that sucked. Yeah. I was like, oh, I didn't, it wasn't for me. I'm still a registered dietitian to this day, and I love all those that do it, but it wasn't for me. And I hated it. I hated going to my internship.
Yeah.
And so that I could relate to, but like, I can't imagine hating your job every day. And so that was when I realized that like, I didn't mind working. And so like, if honestly, if I've got friends that are going to go out, like mom friends, they're like, let's go out, but I have to work. Like, I don't want to go out. I want to work.
Yeah.
So those moments where I'm like, I sound crazy, but that's fun for me. I enjoy it. So it was almost being reflected to me by other people.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Or weird.
Or both. I mean, listen, there are two kinds of people. There are entrepreneurs, and then there are normal people.
Yes. Fair.
I can't relate to that normal people. Like, I can't relate to the employables. Like, I can't figure that out. Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say me either. Like, I can't. I find myself, no matter what I'm doing, always wanting to take more accountability. Like, if I am offering to like volunteer at my kid's school, like, I can't just go in and cut the paper. In my head, am thinking, how can I make this process better? How can I help them scale this? How can I, like, how I can't just, so I just am not made to go and do a thing and then like put it away. I just keep thinking about it all the time and want to play with it more and figure it out more.
Yeah. You built something incredible, right? Like I know that you had a business idea. Not only did you make it viable, but you're able to repeat it across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people will ever do that. When you boil it down to what really mattered, like, what are the things that you sort of hone in on? Like, these are the things that made that possible for you. Like, you've got a great attitude. You're a winner. Like, you get this stuff. Like, what was it that made your story this incredible story versus an ordinary story?
Yeah. I mean, thank you. That's super nice. And I don't ever really think about that all that much, but I would say, I do think that I was always, and I still am, willing to do anything. So there's nothing I'm not willing to do if I think it will help the brand, help the business, help my customers. I really love serving customers. And so when I started, so my sister started Tippi Toes, and she was teaching in college. She was in college when she started it. She was 19, and she did it part-time in college. And then I came and started. And so I was 20 going into schools and like getting new business. I didn't have any background. And so I think there's a couple things. There's one, I was willing to do anything. I was willing to be super nervous going into a school to try to sell the business, but I believed in it. So I was also like, okay with it. So I think being willing to do anything, like I've cleaned up kids' pee at school. I would do that right now. If I went to a franchise zone, like it doesn't even matter. Like, I just want to do what needs to be done. And so I think that's a real important thing with, starting something, is you got to be willing to do whatever the hell it takes. And it's not always fun or enjoyable. Now, like we're talking about things that things that I love to do. There's a lot of stuff as a business owner I hate doing. If I could never have to look at another, like if I would never have to set up a spreadsheet to organize some system, I would be just fine. Like, there's plenty of that, but like, I've spent hours of my life doing that because it's what was necessary. So I think it's kind of being willing to do whatever at any time. I think you have to have that kind of dedication to it. Because I've never asked somebody to do something I haven't already done myself. And so, I think that helps as a leader too. I understand, I can relate. And then when people are doing it, when I can talk to a teacher that's new and she's stressed about class, I know exactly how she feels. So that helps me as a leader, engage the troops too. So I think that was something early on, and then back to the hard work. Like, it was hard, like it's the hours, it's the time. But again, back to like, I loved it. So the hours and time never bothered me. But when I think about the hours I probably put in relative to like my cohorts that, had a normal job, I've worked way longer way longer. It's not easier. It's flexible. It's awesome. But like I've worked so much.
Yeah.
So I think it's the being willing to do anything, and then like having the grit and determination to do, to put the hours in, to put the reps in. Cause that's one thing. There's no silver bullet.
Right.
Like I was talking to a group at the university the other day, and like we've been on Shark Tank. Our music's been a #1 children's album on iTunes. We've been on Billboard charts. We've been listed in Entrepreneur Magazine as a top franchise.
Yeah.
We've been rerun 1,000 times of Shark Tank. Like none of that means it's like done. It's all just a block. Every single thing in business is just another block. And, Sarah Blakely is Oprah's favorite things years ago. Yeah. Well, that wasn't the end. That was one block for Sarah Blakely, Now that block was awesome. And it was maybe a taller block that made that tower higher, but that was just a block. And so I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're just stacking blocks. You just stack the wins. You stack a win, you stack another win. You get, this is good. This is good. This is good. Something screws up. And in my opinion, that's still a block that falls to the side, but you figure out a way to take that loss and make it a part of your foundation, and you find a way to make it work for you.
Yeah.
It's still got to work for you and make your company stronger. And I think I think wins and losses play a really important role into building that tower. And it's all about how you react to those wins and losses.
So that it's amazing perspective. And for you to talk about how Shark Tank was just a piece at the end. I mean, how many people are out there thinking, "Oh, that's it. That's
totally.
where I end up." And that was just part of it. So when you think about early on in the journey, did you have that kind of vision that we're going to build this really interesting, really big, meaningful thing, and here's some pieces that would help us get there? Or back then, were you sort of blinded by that really big thing that was about to happen to you?
I all along, I have believed that Tippi Toes would be a huge thing, that it would be, I still to this day want to be like a household name worldwide.
Yeah.
I realize to a lot of people that's like, oh, that's cute. But like, I really, truly believe that. I work for that. I care about that. I think that is possible. I thought the same thing when I was 20. And I thought it would happen, by the time I was like 26, 27, and now I know.
Yeah.
So my perspective has certainly changed. I have always believed in the power of what we do, because I've been on the front lines. I've been in a dance class and I've seen a mom react. I've seen a child react. I've seen a community react. I've seen a YMCA react. Like it's impactful. And I know that it's just a matter of getting to the masses and repeating it 1,000 times and getting better every time. And so I would say I've, I definitely have learned over time the length of time it takes to accomplish something. You listen to Gary Vee and he's like, patience, patience, patience. Right. And you're like, yeah, no kidding. It's a whole, and so I'm telling that to myself about my podcast. I have 15 episodes in. I've had, Kyler Murray's mom, Sarah Blakely's mom, Jesse Itzler's mom, Colin O'Brady's mom, Jay Williams' mom, these incredible moms. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes I put out an episode and I'm like, did anybody listen? I don't know. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do like 100 episodes and then I make the evaluation, and it's that mentality of just knowing like every decision I make is with the long tail in mind. I don't make any short-term decisions. Like I'm not doing anything to just be good for 6 months. I'm not interested in 6 months. I'm interested in a long-term, win always.
That's one thing that Gary Vee has done well over the years. And like anybody, like he and I don't see eye to eye on everything. I don't agree with him on everything, but there are things that he has done that I really agree with. One of those things is creating content really, really consistently, and then being able to leverage that content 10 years later. Yeah. Like there is nobody watching this live right now that I know of. I mean, there could be dozens of people, but I know that years from now, months from now, when I look back on this really cool thing that I did, it'll have some content that I can repurpose. So I love that. How do you, like, that's difficult for some people though, right? Like I'm going to put this thing out. Nobody's going to give a shit if I do it. But it matters. Like how do you get yourself in that mindset?
You know what? It has to matter to me. So like this podcast, like after every interview I do on my show, I'm like, damn, that was good. Like I really liked what she had to say. Like gain something from it. So in my own head, I'm like, okay, I'm like average 37-year-old mom. Like if it works for me, it has to work for other people. So like when I see that it makes sense and logical to me, that for me matters a ton. And I think, I think my barometer is pretty good. Cause I think Tippi Toes has been the same thing. Like I've known it would resonate. I knew it would resonate when I was 20. And so I trust myself now when I feel like something really works. And then honestly, I've got people that I get feedback from, cause I don't want to be like, my opinion is the right one. Like I do like to get opinion from people I really value and trust. And I do that. And, when things feel like they're rolling, I'm like, okay. When Jesse Itzler's like, man, you're really good at this. Your show is amazing. When Sarah Blakely's like, you have a knack for this. This podcast is awesome. That helps. Like that helps. Now that doesn't always come. I didn't expect that, but I would have believed it either way. That helps. It helps when people you admire, agree with it, and selling franchises, like you sell a franchise and someone's like, this is amazing. Like that's encouraging. But at the end, like the way it started and the way I'm able to stay with it is because I believe in the value of it. And so then I want to keep making it better and figuring out how to get it to more people so that it can maybe bring value to them.
Yeah. What do you see as the longer vision for the podcast? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, you know what? I really I don't know. I've had so many ideas. And I'm it's so early that I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there could be conferences with these moms that I've interviewed that are legendary. Like that's like, this is not medical. I am not an expert. At one point somebody's like, you're like a parenting expert. I'm like, oh hell no, I'm not. No. Do not label me as a parenting expert. I'm asking these women for insight because they have done it. And I think that's really interesting. Like, I think we can all look up what the doctors and psychologists and everybody says, but like, I want to know what actually happened, how you actually did it. And so I've imagined group, like I haven't organized the group at all. And so I think there's a million ways in that I could possibly create something that would be awesome, whether it's conferences or courses or, something like that about parenting, and I've also learned my podcast has resonated with men a lot. Because at the end of the day, like it is called Who Is Your Momma? But it's about good parenting decisions that these people made. They happen to be moms. I'm a mom, so it makes more sense for it to be that. And Who's Your Daddy sounds like a way different show. So I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I have enjoyed the heck out of the process. I've met really cool people. I'm going to have Kara Golden on my show. Her mom is no longer alive, but I'm going to have her on the show in January and get her perspective of her mom, which I'm excited about. So, I don't know. I don't know what will come of it. I have a lot of ideas and I'm still kind of playing with it and seeing what happens. Any ideas? Do you have any suggestions?
Oh boy, don't get me started. I'm not normal. Like these ideas will go on for hours.
I can relate.
I think you should book 30 guests in 30 hours.
I mean,
live stream that shit. Like that's
I love the idea of a live stream. It's funny though, is my guests, they've basically never, I don't think anyone had ever been interviewed up to this point. They've never been interviewed. Like they don't care if you follow them. They don't care if you like them. They're not trying to get more. They're just like, literally every single one of them is like, why do you want to talk to me? What are we talking about? Like, are you sure? Like, I'm just a mom. Like, I don't know. They are, which I love because they're not coming at an angle. They're just coming to be like, well, this is what I did. And then it just happens to normally like it completes the story of this person that we know. That's awesome and cool. So I don't know if I could, and the other thing is, it's interesting. It's been fun to get to work with this different audience because my guests are, most of them are, they have grown adult children. And so a lot of them, like I've had multiple that are like, I don't even listen up. Well, what is a podcast? Like, I don't understand what that is. Which is interesting, like it's interesting too, but then they normally enjoy the conversation and that's great. But I love this idea. I think this is brilliant. I really do, Luke. I think this is so fun, so smart.
Thank you. So I'll give you the floor. Words of wisdom, advice, lessons learned, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I feel like there's kind of two things I would want to say is one, owning your path is really crucial. If I came here and I acted like I was some like I'm not like, I have slippers on right now and I've got yoga pants on and this is what I'm going to be wearing the rest of the day. I'm the CEO of a company that's been around for 22 years. We've been profitable every year. I've got a podcast. Like, it is what it is. I've got 3 kids that are playing with the Christmas train about 10 feet away from me. Like, this is me. This is it. And that's my power if I let it be my power. If I try to put it on like I'm Sarah Blakely or like I'm, Claude Silver, or I'm like, I can't, that doesn't work. I love them for who they are. And so let people see who you are and see and own it, and let it be what it is. It's so much easier to be yourself, so much easier to be yourself than to try to fit into a box. So, I'm willing to bet on myself and be myself. And I think it's a happy place for people to be. And I just always want to encourage people to do that. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is freaking take action. Like, people, there's so much planning and talking and theorizing and what will happen. Nothing matters if you don't take action. Nothing. I thought about my podcast for about a year and a half, and I couldn't actually do it because I had babies and I had no ability to actually do it. But I was thinking, now that time I think was important, and I think I used it. It primed me and it prepared me for it. But if I would have stayed in that place, there would be no podcast.
Right.
I did nothing. And then as soon as and the other thing is, the action step you take, it doesn't have to be some grand action step. Right. I started sending DMs via Instagram, cold DMs.
Yeah.
Jesse Itzler replied. And when I sent out that email to ask Jesse if I could interview his mom, I had no idea how to record a podcast. I had no microphone. Yeah. I had no idea how to do it. But I was like, well, I'll figure it out if he says yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said yes. And then all of a sudden figuring out the microphone and the setup becomes a lot more important and more fun to figure out, because now I'm like, I actually need to do this, Yeah. So I think sometimes people try to think about solving all the problems before they pop up. And it's like, just start the first step and like have some idea of what you want to do and then let it ride from there. So those are my 2 things: own who you are and take action. Those would be the 2 messages I like to talk about.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you jumping in and joining me. I'm looking forward to checking out your podcast. You don't need my luck, but I'm going to wish you luck anyway. Thank you so much. You're awesome. I hope we chat soon.
For sure. Well, I appreciate the invite, and I will take all the luck I can get, because it's all good. And this idea is awesome. So it's going to be a great day. Thanks for your time, and I will let you get to the next guest.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem.